Hi everyone, this is Julianne Victoria of Through the Peacock's Eyes. Welcome to my channel. This video I will be talking about dreams and a dream series that I have had specifically. But this is part of a collaborative effort of 12 YouTubers organized by Maha over at Maha's Treasure Box. And it's called the Dreaming Moon series. So if you're interested in following along, in the description box below are the links to all the channels participating, or just click on the hashtag Dreaming Moon series and you will find all those videos. These videos will be posted from late October through the end of November. Okay, so my topic for this Dreaming Moon series is dream symbols, but not just symbols like a car means this and this means that. It's dream symbols, looking at them as keys to the doors of our psyches. And when I came up with that topic to talk about for this Dreaming Moon series, I immediately thought of my own personal, what I call dream series that I have. They're not exactly recurring dreams, but there are themes and symbols that run throughout. And so I'll be going through one of those major dream series that I have had to see the keys that I find and what doors open to understanding my own psyche and my own process. And I'll give that background a little bit as I go through the dream. So I have a print up here of a bunch of the dreams, not all of them, but many of the dreams I had concerning the symbol house. House or home, if you look this up like in a dream dictionary or something, represents the psyche itself. Now I jotted down some other recurring symbols that I have had that sometimes interweave and interact with my house dream series. So one is a key. There have been many dreams, a long series of dreams, sometimes separate, what I would call separate series of dreams or separate themes in dreams having to do with keys. And keys are about having power, having your power to open something, having your power to lock something out. So you'll notice the key will come up in some of these dreams, even though this is really about the symbol house, which represents the psyche. There are colors. You'll notice that things are colorful or things are white and bright and clear, and I'll explain that as I go. And kind of along those lines, there's a theme of things being cluttered and things being cleaned out and empty. And then my pets show up in my dreams. And you can think, oh, that's a dream about your pet. But often dreams, they're not usually literal. Occasionally, and the rare occasion, when we have predictive dreams, I think that is very rare, even for highly psychic and intuitive people. Usually everything is symbolic of something else, and you kind of have to look at the patterns and ask yourself, what does that mean to me? How does that make me feel? What memory or what inner struggle does that bring up for me? So the symbols are really looking at what it stirs up within the individual. So one person can dream about, let's say, a dog, and somehow it's representing their fear of dogs, and then it's like fear of what fear of something may be going on in their life. And another person can dream of a dog, and it could be about puppy love or a crush they have on someone. So the symbols aren't exactly the same, and they don't have the same meanings or associations for each individual, though there is an archetypal undertone to symbols that come in our dreams. And just one example I'm thinking of that is many people have dreams of their teeth falling out. You could call it sort of a archetypal, collective, unconscious message of, fear of being in front of people, or, whatever you'll read in dream dictionaries and so on. Okay. I also wrote down here, as I was going through these and thoughts coming into my mind, and warning, this may be a very long video. I wrote down, dreams allow us to travel through time and space, traversing the timelessness of the psyche. And timelessness is important to understand when you're looking at your dreams, and if you're like me, I have like dozens of dream journals. Um, and especially when you go through and read them and you're like, oh, things seem out of order, or I thought I had like resolved that and then I haven't. It's because in the dream world, it doesn't go by linear time like we do. There's a timelessness to it. And you'll notice as I read through these dreams, this dream series, or at least a big chunk of my house dream series, is things seem to flip back and forth. And I've realized it's because, one dream might be like, oh, I've resolved that. And the next one's like, oh, I'm back to that. And some of it is revisiting and wavering, but also the dream time, it's not linear. It's not linear. Okay. Now, a little background before I talk about my house dream series. In the summer of 2012, some of you may know this, I sold my home, closed up my healing practice. I also did a little astrology and tarot with that too. And moved from Seattle, and I had owned my home for 9.5 years, almost 10 years. It was like my home. I had I put it, decorated it, redone it, the garden, the veggie and herb garden and chickens. I had a little farm. Like it was like an expression of me, as was my work. I was self-employed. And I just had this strong call, to kind of sum this up briefly, I had a call, I felt like a call from my ancestors to go back to the family home to do deep healing, ancestral healing. On the surface, I needed it for physical healing. I needed more sunshine. I was vitamin D deficient, and I needed to get back to California. But as I was going through this process, I discovered so many layers within myself that needed healing and understanding. And I won't go into all those details because this will be like a 6-hour video. But I am working on a book on my journey. So if you're interested in that, I'll let you know when that's done and completed. It will be a while. Okay, so I was going through a huge transformation. I was taking a deep dive into the underworld by making this move. Like on the surface, very successful. Single, self-employed, independent homeowner, very self-sufficient. And I didn't have to do this, but I knew I needed to for my physical, mental, emotional, and deep spiritual healing. I needed to go into a new cocoon, because I wouldn't say this is the first time, this deep dive into the underworld. It was my call. It was my journey. So I was moving back home in my late 30s into my parents' home to do this deep inner work. And as I moved, there were doubts, there were fears. And a lot of it, you could see it as I built the cocoon around me and going into the darkness and going deep within. Okay, so let's get to some of these dreams and look at the symbol of the house representing the psyche. And it's easy at first to see just the surface meaning, like, oh, that was my fear, that was my doubt. Did I make the right move? Did I make a huge mistake by doing this giant move and this complete, basically, it wasn't just a complete life changeover. It was a complete life wipe out, clear the slate, completely blank with practically nothing. Okay. So I'm starting here with a dream from April 2013. I know I had dreams before that, but to make this a little easier, instead of spending hours and hours sifting through my dream journals, I knew I had a collection of them up on my blog, which is Through the Peacock's Eyes. I'll link that below as well, or is linked below, because I'd already put a whole bunch together and then I'm adding a few in. Okay, so they're dated, and I'm just going to read through these and put a little commentary on it as I go. So April 28th, 2013, I had been in my parents' home 8 months or so, a little bit, something like that. Here's my dream. I went back to my old house, my one in Seattle, the one I sold, and I sold it for nothing because of the market, just to check it out. Kuruk, one of my dogs, and Zoe, my cat, were with me. Again, I feel like Oh, I don't think I got to this. When my pets show up in dreams, I feel like it's a representation of an animal or spirit guide, not literally representing those pets. Maybe on the surface, but I feel like there are guides, like shamanic journeying. Often you have an animal guide come with you. And cats, I should mention, is also a recurring symbol in my dreams. So there's one or two instances in these where cat shows up. But I have had a series of dreams where cats show up and they come out of the walls and they come out of things. And cats often represent intuition. And I feel like those dreams progressed and grew as my intuition developed, as I learned to trust my intuition more. And then the cats would be out in the open. Okay, back to this dream. Let me start over. I went back to my old house just to check it out. Kuruk, my dog, and Zoe, my cat, were with me. I knocked and rang the bell. No one was there, so I used the key I had. I do not have one in real life, I wrote. They were still moving stuff in and putting the house together, so there was clutter everywhere. So again, these symbols that repeat. I saw the woman, and she had a new baby. I told her I just stopped by, that's all. So you can see this, I'm revisiting in my dream time, my subconscious. My guides are with me. I have a key. It's in my power to enter. I had not given over my power. There was still clutter there, so the moving stuff in, putting the house together. And the woman with a new baby. So there was a couple that bought my home, and I believe they had a child not long after. So on the surface, you could say, oh, well, that's the woman and the baby. But really, I feel like that's a representation of myself. And often I feel people in our dreams, in most cases, not always, most cases represent aspects of ourselves, our inner feminine, our inner masculine, an archetype within us. And often people in our waking life will reflect, or we may project, our archetypal energies we're working on, consciously or unconsciously, onto them. And so those people may then appear in our dreams, but it's not usually actually about those other people, it's parts of ourselves. So those people in our dreams are also keys to doors of our own psyches. Okay, May 7th, 2013, I went to my old house to finish packing up. Again, there's clutter in my psyche, stuff I'm cleaning out, stuff I'm trying to understand, stuff I'm sorting through, some stuff I just need to release. The woman had blonde hair this time, and everything was white and bright. So here we get the color, which we'll get to some, versus things being white, bright, clear, and clean, and empty. And so you'll see there's this wavering between clarity within and color and clutter. So everything was white and bright and washed in light. She was cooking. The couple had removed the built-in cabinet in the dining room and asked if I wanted it. I said no. I put my air mattress in the living room since I would need to stay overnight. Simba, another one of my dogs, but one who was passed, and he in spirit is actually a spirit guide for me. So when he shows up in dreams, is definitely, he's there in spirit guiding me. Simba is there, or Simba was with me. Okay. June 11th, 2013. I was back at my old house and had returned to finish cleaning up. There was stuff stacked under the front door mat. My mail, I think. I had entered the house through the back door and then went to the front door and saw this. And then I put in parentheses. In my dream journal, I also note here that the first two dreams, so the other two I already mentioned, I also entered through the back door. In the first one, I had rung the bell, but then entered through the back. And then I wrote, I saw neighbors from across the street wave. That was all. So there's also this symbol of the back door versus the front door. And I see that entering through the back door of the house, the back door of my psyche, is really going in and discovering, revealing, having access to, because I often have the key, often have the power to access the secrets. So what has been hidden, what I have suppressed, what I have just not realized deep within myself. Okay. July 20th, 2013, I returned to my old house because my neighbors wanted me there. I wasn't in the house though. Then I am walking down the street towards the coffee shop. It was warm and humid. I wondered why I went back. I didn't want to. Others wanted it. So this is interesting. And I wrote a little note here about this need to do what others want. And that really has to do with boundaries. And so within my psyche, something I have really worked on a lot of over the years is to not overgive, to not, to set my boundaries, to say, no, I can't do that, or no, that is too much, or no, I'm not in a place for that right now. Being able to hold my boundaries. So the house, my old house representing the psyche. At this time in my life, I was really, really coming to a point of solidifying certain boundaries for myself. And, I wrote here, I didn't want to return. And so it's me understanding my needs versus what other people want. September 9th, 2013, I went to my old house and let myself in the front door with a key. So now I'm going through the front. What is seen, what is visible by others, what is clear, what is known, what is conscious. The owners asked me to let them know next time before I just came over. My pups were there, or my dogs were there. I call them my pups. I was only in the living room. And then we move on to 2014. January 10th, 2014. I was curious what it would be like if I returned to my own house. So this is like a lucid thought. I often lucid dream. Most dreams I'm lucid to some degree. I'm like looking at it and analyzing it at the same time. And I wrote here that also before I went to sleep, I was exploring what a parallel timeline would be like if I had moved. And that's something I kind of do as a shamanic journey exercise. I explore parallel timelines. If I had made a different decision, what would life be like? And so because I was kind of doing that journey before I went to sleep, the dream world carried on with that. Okay. I went to a woman, and I put unknown, a woman friend's home, and she was working on starting up a private medical practice. She was discussing her plans and how we would work together. It felt uneasy to me. Though I figured I could get some of my clients back, I didn't like her plans. So here again, it's like this other person, an unknown female friend. I see that as an aspect of myself, an aspect of an old part of me in my old home, old area, that was focused on mostly working as a healer. And I wrote here, I didn't want to stay there. It's my notes that I went recently. I needed to not be there, but there's an element of healing and rebuilding as well, but just not rebuilding the way life was. Because I've been healing within my psyche. Okay. Same dream. I went to my old house. No one was living there, so it's empty, clear. Inside the basement level where I had my office, the area had been gutted. I would have to rebuild it from scratch. So again, rebuilding, right? I didn't know how I would do this. I had no money to pay the mortgage and didn't even have a treatment table. The upstairs was empty and all the walls were the pale blue color they had been when I first moved in 2003. So things very bright, clear, empty. I think this is expressive. This is symbolic of the clarity, the conscious clarity I had that I didn't want to rebuild my life like it was, but I needed to rebuild. Okay. February 18th, 2014. I'm in my old house. The green is back on the walls. It's very similar green to what I have in here, actually. I want to repair or rebuild the fence because it is falling apart. So I'm rebuilding. I'm rebuilding my confidence. I'm rebuilding the parts of me that have been wounded, that are healing. Then I wrote, it would be a better guard and protect too. So there again is the fence, boundaries. Rebuilding my boundaries, my emotional boundaries. Now, in my life in Seattle, there were a few relationships that were very imbalanced with narcissistic people that sucked my energy, that I overgave to, that I didn't, or I was afraid to put my foot down and say, no, I can't do that. Or really grow up, you know? So this is like, I'm rebuilding my boundaries in a healthier, self-respectful way. And at the same time, I had verbally, in a confident and firm way, set a boundary with my father, who sort of just took advantage of my presence when I moved back into the family home. And that's a whole other story. It would take too long to get into, but if you go to my blog and you go to my butterfly journal entries, over the years, I think I did 3 rounds of that on there. You'll get some of the background. Okay. April 22nd, 2014, I returned to my old house and wanted to buy it from the young couple who owned it. I want to take full power of my psyche. I wanted to step into my power, you can even say. They were the new owners, but also somehow the previous owners. The house was what it was like when I first moved in. Again, clear, empty, light colors on the wall or very pale white or very pale blue. Now, between that dream and the next dream, my mother had passed away from Alzheimer's. So the next dream, August 26, 2014, I decided to return to finally sell my house. It's like I made an inner agreement to fully release, resolve, let go of any old baggage. Because I've been doing so much healing, not just in my dream world, but consciously, doing so much healing work, doing so much archetypal energy work, doing so much ancestral healing work. I knew it had been empty without me for some time, which is very interesting, the empty. Me consciously embracing the inner aspects of myself, the depths of my psyche. Now, around this time, I realized that there is a very fierce aspect to myself. I call it my inner Kali. And that's just a very strong archetypal energy within me. And I believe this message, I knew it had been empty without me for some time, was really my home, my psyche, willingly accept and let it be filled with all those aspects of myself. The fierce, the kind, the angry, the joyful, because those are all aspects of me. I can't pretend they're not there or not see them or not accept them once they're present. I began to compare this is a lucid part, to past dream returns to the house. So I will sometimes do that in dreams where I lucidly compare the dream I'm in to other dreams I have had. I was also aware that I had sold the house in real life. Okay, December 20th, 2014. I was back in my old home in the lower level in the front yellow room. So the lower level, a very deep place within the psyche. So going even deeper. And it was about this time that I was about to take or signing up for or looking into taking Carolyn Mace's Sacred Contracts and Archetypal Consulting course. So I was ready to go even deeper. I was with a very tall, dark-haired man who I would see as a masculine aspect of myself. The room was much bigger than before, and I was trying to figure out a new setup for clients. I decided to use this entry room as a sitting room and this other one as a treatment room. So I'm rebuilding. Rebuilding myself, my life. I explained that I had raised my chickens in this room, which I did when they were chicks. I had them in that room. He, and I wrote here, my inner masculine grown up. And I wrote that because there's another dream series having to do with my inner masculine, but there was probably from like 2008 to around 2012, 13. My inner masculine was a boy. So now he's all grown up. He hugged me and was proud of all I've accomplished, which is just a connection to my inner masculine aspect. And masculine energy is action and doing. So as I'm rebuilding, that's considered masculine energy, rebuilding my life internally and externally. There was a door in the middle of this room towards the front that led to a large garage, which is not how it was in real life. This did not exist in waking life, and I was happy that the room was partly not underground and had more space. So there's things opening up even more. January 4th, 2015. I was at my old house and a guy, representing my inner masculine, had bought it. It was under major construction, and I put in parentheses, due to disrepair, ? So major change and transformation going on deep within my psyche, my inner house. I was helping him or advising him, so working together with my inner masculine, which is great. They weren't so opposite. My inner masculine was no longer a child, a boy, undeveloped, and my inner feminine being more motherly. It's more balanced. I did not have a permanent home, and he offered to buy the blueprints for the house from me to live there, which is interesting. And I wrote down releasing of old patterns, releasing karma, old patterns of behavior, old wounds. February 17th, 2015, I was moving into my old house. So really engaging myself with my inner aspects, with my psyche, with my archetypes, with who I am. But it was a bit different, so that's significant. There was stuff everywhere, so there's still some clutter. There's still stuff to work on, but I felt no urgency to organize everything, more comfortable with my inner self. I was just excited to reestablish myself, decorate, and create. So as my inner world is opening up and growing and more in balance, my external life was reflecting this. I was starting to be able to work again and do more things. So I had been caretaking my mother with Alzheimer's before she passed away. And then my father was diagnosed with cancer. So I was still caretaking him, but I was able to actually work. I had time to do that. So my life was growing and creating, and I could then envision, okay, now where do I want to move? Do what I thought I was going to do a few years earlier. Okay, March 21st, 2015, I was in my house because I wanted to know what it would be like if I still lived there. So again, one of these let's explore a different timeline just to see. And I think some of it was the little doubts that would creep up, oh my gosh, did I make a huge mistake? Okay, some people out front were taking apart the fence, taking apart the boundary. I was worried that they might take apart the back driveway part and that the dogs might get out. I went out and told them to stop, so I upheld my boundaries. So I think I was being challenged with my boundaries again at this time in real life. I went out and told them to stop. They did, but the whole front fence had been torn down. So I wrote in little notes, reassessing my boundaries again, but also the front, right? What is out there in the world, what other people can see. And part of it, I also feel, symbolizes me getting out in the physical world more, me being able to work more, me being able to be out there in the world more. So, some of the boundaries that this dream is representing by the fence coming down could be boundaries of hypervigilance and overprotectiveness that needed to come down. Though the important fence that kept the dogs in, what is near and dear to my heart, was safe and secure. And then the dream goes on. There were about 5 cats, so here's the cat theme weaving into this dream series, who wanted in and out the front door. I was inside looking out the front window, and a lady solicitor walks in the front door. So she just totally barged down a boundary, which I thought was locked, but wasn't. This shocked me, and I told her to leave. I saw a friend's keys on the table. I knew she had come to support me, but I didn't know where she was. So you could see the solicitor lady and the friend lady as 2 aspects of myself. The friend, the part of me that supports myself, that my cheerleader, and the solicitor, the part of me that disrespects my own boundaries. So of course, I'm still working on this. It's improving, it's healing, doing a lot of work internally and externally. But as with all healing, all inner work, it continues on. It continues on. All right. April 7th, 2015, I was back at my old home. They often start this way, huh? But it was new and I had just moved in. So again, embracing those inner aspects of myself. And at this time, I'm deep into the Sacred Contracts and Archetypes Consulting course, which brought some revelations to my healing journey that I was not consciously at all aware of. In the living room, I was looking out at the garden and assessing all that I could do, so all that I could create. The wood chips could be removed to plant, etc. I was excited, right? Neighbors were happy. I was there too. I was walking up the street and a neighbor with kids on bikes were very friendly and happy to see me. And this is a time I'm feeling, life was getting better and better. It'd been, I was starting to push my way out of the cocoon I was in. May 25th, 2015, I went to stay at my old house, but knew that I was just visiting or vacationing. I was changing my clothes in the bedroom and the dogs were playing outside. The bedroom was sparse, only a couple of chairs and a table or 2 to set my things on. They had changed the curtains to white embroidered ones, so again, bright, white, clear. They were on the old rods and drawn over the windows. I looked out the back window and saw the woman who lived there planting some plants in the middle of the back. It was similar to before, but different. So the woman, an aspect of me planting. Still working on stuff, but outside in my actual life, I'm planting seeds. July 29th, 2015, I went to my old house to see how the couple were living there. It had been changed a lot. The bedroom was now in front. The yard was different. It wasn't, and I put in quotes, my house anymore. August 9th, 2015, I flew with my brother to my old house. So this is the first one where I actually go on a journey there, on an airplane. Usually I just appear there. It was as it was when I lived there, and I wanted to go to bed. My dogs were sleeping in the backyard. So it's interesting, August 9th, 2015, a little bit after my birthday, flying represents freedom to me, being able to go somewhere, being comfortable in my house, in my psyche, and who I am and how I have grown and how I have developed. And it was as it was when I lived there. So I know there's still stuff to work on, but it doesn't scare me. It doesn't bother me. I want to go to sleep, so I'm comfortable there. Yet I am free. I'm more free than I'd felt in a while. And at this time, I was actively looking for where I was going to move, where I was going to live next. Okay. September 5th, 2015. An Asian woman and her young son were sleeping in the bedroom in my old house. And I should point out another recurring symbol for me in my dreams is me being Asian and people being Asian in my dreams. And I think that has to do with a lot of past lives. The dogs were in there too and singing. They quieted down and then all were sleeping. I had to go next door to my neighbor's backyard to access something in my backyard. So in the back, I'm gonna go find some more secrets, find more that's hiding within. His house was packed with old furniture and antiques. So it was fully cluttered. Like I can see this dream in my mind right now. There was barely enough room to move around or through it. I was looking around and a man who looked like a goth mad hatter approached the neighbor's house to appraise the antiques. So old stuff, appraising old stuff, looking at old things, looking at old patterns of behavior, looking at what I've stored in my psyche. And as I go into this new level, going through the backyard, symbolizing the secrets, what is hidden, what cannot be seen, that needs to be seen now. It's overflowing. It's in my neighbor's house. So as I mentioned, healing continues on. You think, oh, I've done good. And then it's like, oh, there's so much. Like you open it, you have a key and you open up another door. And in this case, my neighbor's door. And you realize there is so much more old stuff. Wounds, things we haven't acknowledged, archetypes. And because of the Asian element here, this could be some past life stuff that is continuing on in this life. My neighbor then arrived too, and he was ready to clear out the old stuff. So my neighbor, being a man, and it was the person who was my actual neighbor in real life, in the dream represents a masculine aspect, ready to clear out the old stuff. So my masculine side, which is your active side, masculine energy is active, taking action out in the world, getting stuff done, steps in, says, let's take care of this. So again, that tells me symbolically, subconsciously, and I feel consciously, because of the masculine aspect, I'm, ready to go deeper, ready to go into the back, into more layers, more secrets, more that is hidden within me. September 30th, 2015, I went to my old house and was in the backyard. Again, in the back, more secrets, what is hidden, what can't be seen by other people at all. The back of the house was more open and on ground level versus a few feet above. There was also now a door from the bedroom to the back patio. There were a lot of people gathered there, mostly the university athletes I had worked on. The small pond was being remodeled, and we were talking about how I named the fish for the athletes, which I had. It was kind of funny. I was worried about the fish with the remodeling of the pond. The part of the old pond that had a small leak was now filled with dirt. The plants from the edge had been removed and changed. Someone pointed out that all the fish were safe. And there were lots of them, hundreds and many varieties now, and in a new, bigger pond swimming pool right next to it. So the symbol I want to point out here, so we're in the back. There's lots of people. You can see lots of aspects of myself, qualities of my personality, my archetypal energies, athletes, active energy, and the pond, water, emotions. It's being remodeled. Things are being understood. You could say I'm being remodeled deep within my psyche. A bigger pond or swimming pool. And I wrote here, greater access to the range of emotions, and I want to say my intuition. Okay. So next, I'm going to do one dream. I know this is a long video. One dream, before I go on to what else I printed up there, from one of my dream journals. And this is December 15th, 2015. I went back to my old house. It was the same, but all the walls were bright white. It was, quote unquote, my home. And after that dream, there's very few, just little bits of this going back to my house dreams. So little. What instead, so I owned my psyche. I took full ownership of all that's within my psyche, all that I was aware of, all that I was not yet and possibly still not yet aware of, but taking ownership, whatever is within me, I accept and I'll work with, do whatever healing, and so on. And then the house symbol, the psyche, in my dreams shifted. So for a few years, I would occasionally have a dream where I'm looking to buy a house, not my old house, but I go to different places. There are probably a handful of these dreams over a few years, looking for places to live. So through 2015 or 26, because that was December 2015, 2016, 2017, maybe early 2018, a handful of dreams where I'm going somewhere and I'm looking at a house to buy, random homes in my dreams. And one in real life, that's something I was considering, right? So it's reflecting that. But on the deeper symbolic level, it's representing looking for a new inner space to express myself. Yeah. It's the best way I can phrase that. So I'm the symbol of looking to buy a home, looking to buy, looking to find, looking to take ownership of a part of myself I don't know I have or I'm not yet aware of, but I'm looking for it. So you can see it's an expression of the adventure of self-discovery, yet not yet discovering it. So there's like something within myself I'm looking for. And the dream is the dreams themselves are the keys. Okay. And then we fast forward here. So we fast forward. So again, the few dreams of looking for a home here and there. In November 9th, 2018. And I want to point out, this is the day that Jupiter moved into Sagittarius, which is my ascendant sign. But more significantly, Jupiter moved out of Scorpio, which is a sign of transformation, a sign of the deep, a sign of shadows, and into Sagittarius, his own sign, a sign of conscious expression, adventure, bringing the subconscious conscious. So that night, I had this dream. I was going by a white colonial style 2-story house, plain, simple, and clean. There was green grass all around, so creativity and growth, and it was where the street curved. So it was like a street and it curved and the house was like on that curve. I saw that there was a for sale sign in front and decided to check it out. The homeowner showed me around the house, which had a lot of light colored wood inside. She said that she shared half the house with her mother and her daughter. I thought it was perfect for me. She also showed me an attic space, which she said was for growth and expansion. And Jupiter represents growth and expansion. And this was the day he moved into, or that night that he moved into his own sign of Sagittarius, where he is strongest and brings about his most growth and his most expansion. So to me, this is like a significant point of, you could say, self-awareness, realization, healing. Again, it's not like it stops here. There's always more. But I'd come to this huge stage of expansion. This is like, I would say, when I was fully outside of that cocoon that I dived into, consciously dived into. Most people don't consciously dive into it. I knew I was going into something heavy. Though consciously, I didn't really want that part of me, but I knew it. I dove into that underworld, that cocoon. And this, I would say, was like the final emergence. Now, it's significant to me too, and I actually didn't point it out here, but I remember, I can see this whole dream as I read this, that the woman that I talked to was dark-skinned. And that means it's like hidden aspects of myself that I'm now facing. You could see it as shadow aspects. Now, it doesn't mean that every dark-skinned person in your dreams is a shadow aspect, but I felt that was significant here because I was embracing. And as I mentioned, I was really working on a lot of embracing my inner Kali because she's ferocious. She's a shadow aspect I didn't know I had until I started working with her. What was it, 2014, 2013? So really embracing her. But I feel she also represents the moon because the moon is at night when it is dark. And she shared the home with her mother, the crone, and her daughter, the maiden mother crone. And this dream, meeting this woman, wanting to buy the home where the three aspects of the goddess, the three aspects of the moon, the three aspects of the dream world, right? The moon rules the dream world. We're living together in harmony as one. And I was buying this home that was white, bright, clear, growth, green grass all around. I'd really come out of my cocoon and embraced, to some degree, because there's probably more, my psyche, my inner aspects, my shadow aspects, my archetypes. And it was now time for great growth and expansion. I'm up in the attic space. And going up in dreams, and this is another recurring symbol in various dreams, but going up, going to a higher level, a higher plane is a sign of spiritual realization. You can say transcendence, awakening, but it doesn't stop there. It keeps going. So that is my house dream series and various other symbols, what they mean to me, and how they show my healing progression, how all those symbols have given me little keys to open doors to my own psyche to understand myself. Okay, I know this is a long video. I will be doing at least one more. I think probably just one more for this Dreaming Moon series. But when you dream, try to journal. And I just want to give some pointers here because sometimes I wake up and the dream starts fading. I'll just jot down some keywords. And then later on, once I'm awake and I got my tea or whatever, I can sit down and write it out in my journal because I have those keywords to help me remember the dream. So for those of you who have trouble like waking up and writing, just write down those keywords and see if that helps you to come back to write out your dreams. And see what patterns repeat. Like this is like, you could call it a recurring dream going back to my old home, right? But they're all different, so I call it a dream series. But what little symbols repeat? Like for me, the keys, the back door versus the front door, the white versus color, the cats, my pets. And see what those symbols mean for you in your life. You can look them up in dream dictionaries. I mean, there's a whole bunch online. And there may be one thing that really jumps out at you. So that's a sign, okay, that might be what it symbolizes for you. But ask yourself, well, how does it feel? What thoughts does it bring up? You know, what memories does it bring up? And those are all little keys. Those are keys lead to more keys to open those doors into your inner self, into your psyche. All right, everyone, I hope you enjoyed this long video going through a big chunk of my house dream series. There are more in my journals, but that's a big chunk of them. I think that's enough. And to seeing and finding, and sometimes it's just like, what's the key? What's the key in that dream? Is it one symbol? Is it two? Is it three? And what's the recurring ones? Those are the significant ones that tell you so much about yourself, your inner workings, your inner healing, your inner process, but that will in turn shift something in your external because you understand yourself a little bit more. All right, thank you everyone for watching. Share this with someone whom you think it might help. Check out all the other channels. Again, they're linked below, or just click on the hashtag throughout. October, November, and then it will still be there beyond, of course, if you want to check out all the Dreaming Moon series, moon videos, and everyone's talking about different things, but of course, somehow it's all going to, I think, interweave and be related. All right, thank you again. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing, and I'll see you back here soon.